Welcome, everybody. We are live. Welcome to That Fantasy Show, Week 9 in the NFL season. I am your host, your friendly local neighborhood YouTuber, Michael Amend, joined by
Brian Wilczek.
And who else is with us?
Miss Ella.
And I think we have someone else with us.
It's Archer.
Welcome to the show this week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in as we kick off Week 9 of the NFL season, and we'll get you going with some fantasy talk. We will go over two of our fantasy leagues, the Closing with Steve League and our family league.
First and Ghoul.
And we are going to tell you what to bet on this week, as well as Ella's famous Pick 6. But first, how do we start our show every week, Ella?
By the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's get it poppin' then, please. Going ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for that, Miss Ella.
Big week in America, election week, if you didn't know. So, if you're not registered, you better be doing that real quick.
And I don't care what side you're on, but I want your participation. This is important. As you can tell, we both have children here, and this affects their future. So please get out and vote if you're not registered. Thank you for your participation.
Yep. Set a good example. All right. Thank you, children.
All right. As we transition these children out, Miss Ella will be back later in the show for Ella's Pick 6. A lot of people's favorite part of the show. She's doing very well. You'll want to see her record and follow along, see how she does this week. But with that being said, what do you say, Brian? How about we kick off Week 9 of the NFL season and of That Fantasy Show?
All right, let's do it.
So usually we like to jump right in to the rankings, and this will, oh, you know what? We should recap last week.
Yeah.
We could get to those rankings here in a minute.
Let's shoot the shit a little bit before we get going. Obviously, spooky season's over. We had a memorable Halloween. We're actively taking down Halloween and going right into Christmas.
That's something we do as well.
Oh yeah, there's no gap in between. I mean, you're taking the stuff down. You're not gonna put your normal stuff back out.
Absolutely.
Right? Just throw up the holiday decorations.
And I think a lot of people forget that the decorations, they can be therapeutic to some people,
Oh, absolutely.
helpful, create happiness, joy, fun. These are all things that sometimes with your day-to-day grind or your regular life, it's nice to have those things around the house. So yeah, we'll be set up for Christmas later. Sad to see spooky season go. This was a good one.
Yeah, very fulfilling. We keep some spooky stuff up year round. We still got Bat Skilly here. He's gonna be a permanent piece on the set.
I feel like he was good luck last week too.
Oh yeah, he hides the little sewer stack too, so that's cool. Yeah, and then we got the Grinch mug going already. We're ready. And don't forget Thanksgiving. Although we go right into Christmas, we don't forget about Thanksgiving.
And that's one thing I think people forget when they see early Christmas decorators, that we don't care about Thanksgiving. No, I love Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
but I never see my neighborhood decorated for Thanksgiving. Like, I mean, it's just like more of a, yeah, it's a family holiday. Love it. Not trying to skip past it. But what do you decorate for Thanksgiving
Blow
anyway?
up turkey
Would
in
you
your
put up
yard.
a turkey in
That's,
your yard?
yeah.
Some corn or something? So I don't know. I'm excited. I actually love the food part of that too. So I feel like November just to me means like a good food month. We're going to eat well at some point.
Yeah, and I think recap of week 9 in the NFL. We didn't get a waiver recommendation out, but I think that's mostly because there was a top dog out there. Cleveland Browns, Tillman. I think he was going number 1 in any waiver bids that were out there. And then another thing to note is Elijah Moore. Some people are saying he could be the guy over there in Cleveland. So we'll see what happens. If you got Tillman, good for you. But if you're still looking for somebody, you might want to pick up more. So we can touch on that later.
Yeah, excellent pickups. The Browns offense looks like they're going to actually be capable for fantasy purposes, which you couldn't really say that case too much in the early part of the season. Not saying I don't know how far they go, but we just play fantasy sports. A 1-14 team, 1-15 team, whatever it is, they can still get you fantasy stats. You need something. So nice to see Browns receivers will get some work. Still don't know if I trust running backs there, but yeah, Tillman, huge pickup this week. Was available in almost any league.
Yeah, I think I lucked out. I recommended Allie to get him 2 weeks ago, so beat the wave on that.
And then as far as last week went in fantasy, it was a pretty typical week. There was no buys, so your team pretty much showed what it is last week. If you had good enough stuff, you're probably set up for a playoff run, and if you're not good enough, your team probably pretty much let you know that last week.
Yeah, I noted that statistical anomaly, not having a bye during bye season. That's something that generally doesn't happen. So.
Yeah. And especially for fantasy, you needed to capitalize last week. So if you're able to get a win, good for you going forward. But now these next 4 weeks, there's going to be buys. And this is also like cut and dry period where we're getting to fantasy playoff time, whether you're going to make it or you're positioning for the playoffs. A lot of leagues have a bye. So that means the top 2 teams, maybe they want that extra bye, get some guys healthy. And then maybe you're fighting for that last playoff spot, and you got to fight through these bye weeks because there's going to be some big bye weeks coming up too. I hope people are prepared for that.
Yeah, one last thing, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but in terms of bye weeks, I had seen something floating out there, that potential permanently based London team, and the idea is every team would basically get 2 buys instead. So you have 2 bye weeks, and any team that played London would automatically have a bye week the next week if they played in London.
That's interesting.
Now that'd be crazy, but just sheer speculation. But I mean, that's some crazy in terms of fantasy. If you got to count for 2 buys from every player, that's
right.
That's
right. Yeah, so and then we just do fantasy. So like I said, we ride waves here. It's up and down. You got to deal with what's in front of you. This week, like I said, there's 4 buys, and when we jump into the rankings, we'll go over some stuff because you may not be able to start somebody that you want to start. So you're going to have to sit here and pivot and hopefully save your season or continue your good season, and hope everything's working out well for you. We're in 2 leagues, and in one we're doing well, and that one's more of a expert level-ish type league. Yeah, we put a lot of effort into that, and we're 2 years strong into a dynasty league in that. And then we're in a fantasy typical family one, just a regular redraft league, and
low key, but I think I was a little I don't know, off my rocker with my draft. So.
Yeah, I didn't do as well there, so we're gonna visit that a little bit, poke a little fun at ourselves there because we're doing well in an expert one and we're doing terrible in a beginner one, and that's just how this fantasy life goes, like.
Yeah.
And if you get a taste of it, you want more.
Oh yeah. And that's why we're doing this show. And I do notice the chat lighting up, but we will have a segment to answer some questions here after we go through our rankings.
Chat, what's good? Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate every single person that gives us some support. We are just a beginning show. 9 weeks in, we didn't know how to do any of this 9 weeks ago.
No,
And-
learning as we go, learn
Yeah.
on the fly. We are streaming on 2 platforms today, YouTube and Twitch.
What's up, Twitch? What's good? Welcome in.
Yeah, welcome Twitch world. And, we're going to expand as we go, but, we're just easing into it. So
It is what it is.
catching us,
There's
yeah.
been some learning curve and some bumps along the way, but also we've done some things well. We've recommended some players that have done well. Hopefully that helped some people out.
Yeah.
But we've been wrong on a couple players we recommended just last week. I can't remember. I was scrolling over last night, but I remember I was pounding the table for somebody and it didn't go too well.
Yeah, they'll make you cringe, but that's just the way fantasy goes.
It
right?
is.
All right, well, let's jump into our rankings. I'm going to cut over to our browser. Again, Fantasy Pros, we use them every week. We got PPR settings in our league. And, we're going to start over here in the quarterbacks.
I want to shout out Fantasy Pros every week as well, too. Just love the site. Very easy to use. Pretty popular. I hope people like to use it. So when we go to quarterbacks, like we say every week, the top 10 or 12-ish, you usually don't need help to start, especially this week. I love the list. The
One
top
guy outside the top 10, I keep bringing his name up, Baker Mayfield. He's getting no love down here at 16.
Yeah.
What is going on, man? Like,
Yeah.
obviously he's without Godwin, but last week he still put up solid numbers, and he's just out here getting disrespect.
Yeah, as you pull up his game log there, if we can get that
I mean,
up
we
on
got
the
a tough
screen.
matchup, so maybe that's kind of hindering him. But he's had some tough matchups and done all right.
If you look at his point total too, that's just the consistency you would want from your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't expect 25 from my starter every week, and I expect a bad game or two. As you can see, there's 1 or 2 bad games there. No big deal. You'll live with that. But
Yeah, and they're not horrible. They're not goose eggs. You have 1 9-point game, and everything else is in the 20 to 30 range.
the guy's having an excellent season.
Yeah,
So
and this
if-
is a guy that went undrafted in most leagues, so this is part of working that waiver wire.
like I said, and this week he's ranked 16th on this list outside of the top 10 or 12 there. I can understand the matchup with Kansas City, but like I said, Baker Mayfield, to me, he's a set it and forget it type player. If he's not
Yep.
on a bye, I'll take what I can get from Baker Mayfield just off of this season. Yeah, that's an excellent choice, and I don't understand why he's so low there, but
All right, well, let's get into your usual recommendations.
so, like I said, outside of the top 12, this is going to be where people maybe need some help if there's bye weeks and stuff, but there's definitely some talent in all of these positions. You could go with Tua at 17. You could take a flyer on Jameis Winston at 18. You could go with Jared Goff at 19, who's a lot of people's top 3 MVP candidate, and I would agree with them. I'm not going to
Jared Goff.
get
Can we
that
get a
chant going. Get
Yeah.
that chant going, chat. Guy's having a great season, and if you pull up his game logs there, it's respectable. Again, you want consistency from your quarterback, and that's pretty consistent fantasy numbers. It could be up, could be down, but set it and forget it for me.
Yeah, you can live with that. I mean, there are some better options, but I mean, obviously, you would have drafted them. But if you need somebody, you can't complain with numbers like that. So.
Yeah, and then, like I said, another name to look at right around the 18, 19, 20, Derek Carr, he's back today. Early in the season when he's seen him, the Saints had 2 unbelievable what's going on games.
Yeah,
Then
coming
he-
out 2-0, looking like the hottest team in the league.
Right.
And then, they came down to earth. And,
Came back down to earth a little bit, let you know that the NFL is going to bring ups and downs. You can't stay the same all the time.
teams are
He's
gonna adjust.
back. It's just Carolina. It's a road game. Just saying, if I was in a position where I needed someone to start, he was available. I'm not scared to start Derek Carr this week. Another guy I went to bat for this guy earlier in the season. If you catched any of our shows, Daniel Jones. Fairly favorable matchup today at home versus Washington. Maybe foreshadowing where we're going to be in our gambling segment later in the show. But Daniel Jones, he's a guy I'm not scared to start.
I mean, he's got some good weapons. I mean, look at Neighbors having a hell of a season.
I said overall the team may not be exciting but we play fantasy sports. We just need stats from guys. If you pull up his game log there, he's at a little roller coaster. There, the last 2 weeks haven't been as good. Today's matchup, I'm not saying set it and forget it, Daniel Jones, but if my starter's on a bye or injured this week, he's a guy I'm not afraid to start.
Yeah, these Washington matchups have been good for both sides. So.
And there's points, so that means okay, maybe there's 2 touchdown passes, so that's gonna tip his scale a little bit right into your favor. Anyone else inside the rankings that you got your eye on, Brian? There's some feasible stuff, but
yeah, I mean, there's just some guys hovering outside the top 10. I mean, Bo Nix is kind of making a rise. That's been kind of.
And he's one I'm not really scared to start. It's
scared to start. I mean, at the beginning of the year, you'd be like, damn, you're crazy. But
it's an interesting matchup today.
He's not doing bad. He's on a steady rise, I think. Obviously, you can see that in terms of his points. So, I mean, it's worth a risk if you
the last 4 weeks, they're a fairly consistent point total for him, too. And you'd be happy with that if you take away the name, who he is, what team he plays on. If you just showed someone your quarterback got you this the last 4 weeks, you'd be excited. So,
you'd start him without a Blake, right?
And, Jameis Winston did fairly well against that Baltimore defense last week. I still think the Baltimore defense is performing well this year. However, we play fantasy here, so maybe there's some room for Bo Nix there. You might be onto something with that one.
Yeah, I guess with that, we'll jump into running backs.
So
keep it moving.
Sliding over to running backs, same thing. You don't need our help. The top 12, I was pretty much in love with. Even 13, 14 there, DeAndre Swift there. Chicago's still getting some work. But
that Miami offense, I mean, I guess Tua really is their key. Achane had a hell of a game last week, and I was kind of weary on him coming back. See how how they all mesh together, but.
Yeah, for fantasy purposes, it was nice to have him back, and then that made everyone else a little more valuable.
Oh, absolutely. Extremely.
You had to honor the pass. You had to honor the run. Even speaking of that, just based off of last week numbers, number 20, Mr. Hubbard there for Carolina. He's a guy I was looking at when I was studying the stuff last night. You pull up his game logs. He's getting a lot of attempts. And it's kind of up and down on his targets.
He was up the rankings top 10 there for a few weeks. Obviously the middle of the season, he had these 18-point games, and then he kind of mediocre in the last couple of weeks.
And I think if you look at the last 2 weeks in specific, they were on the road, not necessarily the best matchups, kind of behind in those games. I think with them being back at home this week, just New Orleans, who's been up and down on the defensive end themselves.
Time for course correction.
Yeah, so I like him for this week. I said running backs, it's another tough position. Tyrone Tracy Jr., I believe he's down there at 21.
Yeah, we got a question out of the chat here. We
bring that
asking
question.
A recommendation between Ramondre Stevenson against the Titans and then Tyrone Tracy against the Commanders.
Well, speaking of that, I was just about to pound the table for Mr. Tyrone Tracy. Like I said, I think the Giants match up well in this game today. It's at home. I feel like they can compete in this game. This is a sort of winnable game for them. Obviously, they're not Super Bowl quality. But, I would pound the table for him. If you look at his game logs, look at all the work he got last week. He got in the end zone as well. And he gets a couple targets out of the backfield. It's not like 2 or 3 is a lot. But again, those were better defenses the last 2 weeks he was playing, and he got 22 points against that Pittsburgh defense last week.
You look over the last 4 weeks, I mean, you take that average there, you're getting high teens in his rushing attempts.
I'm taking that. So Tyrone Tracy, that's my question there. And I still like Stevenson too. So that's not to put a diss on Ramondre. It's just matchup based. Yeah, I like him today.
Hit or miss, honestly, in that New England offense.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't trust the New England offense any more than I trust the Giants one, but I just feel like the Giants are going to be able to do a little bit today, fantasy purpose-wise.
Yep. So we're taking Tracy there, chat.
Yeah, I'm taking Tracy, chat, please. Then outside of the top 30, so it gets thin here. If you have to start one of these guys, God bless you. Just because you're going to be taking somebody who's maybe a backup.
Yeah.
And it's not
or
a problem.
Or non-promising timeshare where you don't know who's going to get more.
Right, and we bring up Zach Charbonnet a few times, and he doesn't necessarily start because Kenneth Walker, man, that guy's a beast. But Charbonnet, he makes the most out of his time. He'll still get a sneaky touchdown there as point last week, but he barely got any work last week. But he is getting some targets. every game he's getting targets.
Yeah.
And the games where he actually got used well, he had double-digit fantasy points when Walker was out. So he's a guy, like, if you have to start somebody, just you're hoping that he gets scrap time or he finds the end zone.
And you never hope for injuries, but it is a real possibility in the NFL. So you might just start a guy, maybe the lead back's going to get hurt, and this guy's going to come in and have a hell of a game like he did earlier in the year. So, I mean, that's always a possibility,
Absolutely. Too. And the way teams use running backs these days, they start 2 running backs. So, and if you look outside of the top 15, 20 here, a lot of these guys, they're sharing time with someone. So, don't be afraid to use one of those guys. I'd take them over somebody on a poorer performing team because you want somebody to get work in an offense that produces points fantasy-wise.
It's usually a coin flip, which is pretty good in the gambling world.
Yeah.
All right, well.
50% odds. Outside of that, running backs, very thin. Please tread lightly.
Move to our bread and butter here.
Yeah, no one too exciting. But when we go over to receivers, as I set my screen up here as well. Again, it's real typical. The top guys, they're just rolling right now. I'm not taking anybody out. I wanted to highlight your guy who you've actually recommended a few times on the show and through the shorts, Mr. Josh Downs. It was announced Flacco's going to be starting for the foreseeable future. They have playoff hopes, obviously, so you want to go with a more seasoned veteran. I think Flacco likes Mr. Downs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've noted Downs before. He's come up in the Woody's Roundup. And, obviously when Flacco's in, Downs has great games. So you can see that. He's ranked 12th here in the rankings. He's on the rise, and, the experts see the same thing. So he's up and down in those down weeks, mostly because Anthony Richardson.
If you look at his targets, too, with the games that Flacco was, 12, 9, and 9. I'm taking that. You want your receiver to get a lot of targets.
Yeah. So smash the button on Downs. You got him, start him.
Also, Puka Nacua, before we go down too far, right below him.
Resurgent. I mean, you're kind of weary. He's coming back from an injury that he's been out, a lot of weeks, and he comes back and he puts up solid numbers for you.
9 targets, too. That's the most important thing for me. That means they weren't afraid to look for him. Last year, we saw that he got a lot of targets, made the most of his opportunities. That's a Hall of Fame level quarterback that he has with him. So I'm pounding the table, Puka Nacua. If you have him and he's back from injury or whatever your scenario is,
100% healthy.
Yeah, good for him. Right around the teens and early 20s, those are obviously typical guys you're starting to. I wanted to go number 24, though, Mr. Jackson Smith-Njigba. DK Metcalf was announced that he was not playing today, right?
Correct. He's out.
So if you look at Njigba's game log here, not too exciting on the point production. However, on the target, look at that. He's still getting 7, 6, 9, 7. So
no matter who the guy is.
You want your guy to get looked at. So just hoping maybe he finds the end zone today. No Metcalf.
You might have the harder corner matchup, but I think he'll be all right. But, before we get carried out of the teens, one thing I do want to know, Baltimore, they got Zay Flowers ranked up here, 19. And, there's been a trade in the NFL. Deontay Johnson's over there.
Yeah, I think that's going to open up that offense a lot more, too, now that you actually have to honor the pass.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it might bring Zay Flowers' stock down. Maybe not this week. We'll see how, Johnson gets rolled into things. But definitely keep an eye on that.
Great pickup for them. I think that could actually increase Flowers, too, because you're going to have to focus some attention on there.
Yeah, so maybe Flowers really will blossom.
And I tell you who it's bad for. Earlier in the year, we had someone in the chat with Rashad Bateman. If they're still around, I'm sorry, but I feel like Rashad Bateman's season is over. He had a critical drop last week, and they've given him plenty of time to take off to a level that they want, and he's just not there yet. So I feel
just forget about him.
Yeah, I feel like his season is over.
And some other guys down here. Keon Coleman ranked 40 down there. He's had a couple good weeks in a row now.
Found the end zone last week.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been doing all right. So if you got to throw a dart, I'd put it on Keon Coleman.
And again, targets, 7 targets consistently the last 2 weeks. You just hope you get the same kind of target share and you can make the most of those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not the number one guy there with the Cooper trade, but I think that really opened it up for him. Just like, we're going to keep an eye on in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So, don't discount the guy.
Yeah, and Baltimore's a team that's doing well with fantasy performers. I also wanted to touch on number 29, Brian Thomas Jr.
Another rookie.
This is a game where I expect a lot of points in this game. And then if you look at his target share, he's making the most of his targets. He's finding the end zone, kind of a deep ball threat, but his point share is consistent there. That's something I would be happy with. Not bad for a rookie, as you just said.
And the ceiling can be pretty high for him, too. See, he had a 20-point game, so.
And then they've had some injury concerns at receiver there in Jacksonville. I believe Kirk is out for the year, so I just feel like his target share is going to go up, and he's obviously performing with the minimal target share. So Brian Thomas Jr., he's another guy that I like this week. Anybody else you wanted to focus on? I know a lot of people in this 30 to 40, 50 range. You're going to have to start one of these guys if you're in leagues that have 3 wide receiver spots or you're torn on a flex. Is there anyone that gets you excited in this range here?
I don't know. I mean, there's names we've, punched before. Douglas, Tucker. They had some good games, but you don't want to risk them in your lineup.
Your season's on the line.
Again. Yeah.
You want to start any of these guys? Your season's on the line. You make or break week right now. Give me someone 35 to 50 that you're going to go ahead and start. You got to start him. You're trying to win.
Give me Odunze. Look at that matchup right there, Arizona. We got a
fairly good matchup and
favorable matchup. I think Caleb Williams is finding his footing.
Yeah,
and that's going to open it up for some guys. So,
and the way that game ended last week, I'm sure he wants to perform better this week and come back for a victory. That's a good one right there.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, that's a gamble, but I'll gamble with that.
And people got to start somebody in this range. I guarantee you there's somebody starting a guy in this range. Actually, in our family league, I've had to make a decision here. I had to decide whether I wanted to start Jordan Addison. I went against that. However, there's a guy, Jalen McMillan. He was everybody's hot waiver wire pickup last week when the receivers went down in Tampa Bay. And it was all, woe is me. What are we going to do? Baker's going to find someone. He didn't necessarily have a good week last week.
No,
and
but he had a lot of targets, though. 7 targets. That's pretty good.
Exactly.
8 the week before. So if you want to keep with that trajectory, that's a good gamble as well.
That's why I would start this guy just based off of the target share alone. He's going to find the end zone at some point. They don't have receivers there. This guy is going to be one of the guys. He's getting the work, and as we just said with Baker Mayfield, he's performing. He's finding people for touchdowns. It's going to be someone. So he's a guy if you got to. And then Jalen Tolbert is a guy that you recommended people to pick up earlier in the season. He's Dallas wide receiver too. That offense is going to be feasible enough. He's getting some targets. He's got to find the end zone, but
yeah. So the floor is low, but he could do all right.
If you got to take a shot, he's a guy I'm not too scared of. But we can get out of this wide receiver position. That's pretty deep. Hopefully, too many of the people don't need help there. But tight ends.
Look at this minefield.
Your boy Brock Bowers. Whew.
And yeah, he came out firing this year. I had to trade up for him in our Dynasty League draft, and it's paid off for me.
Kid's doing well.
Yeah, I mean, that's where my team was weak, tight end. That was my big glaring, I need help, and these guys come through.
Yeah, he was someone I was interested in for my own team, Cincinnati Bengals, Who Dey, but didn't shake out that way.
Well, one thing to note, tight end week last week, and Bowers, one of the few that did not see the end zone.
Man, that was crazy
last week. That was disappointing.
Tight ends were scoring like crazy. How did we not know that before our show?
You see some guy had like a 10-leg parlay.
Yeah, $10, 185,000.
Holy moly.
We could have done something easily for that.
But I probably would have put Bowers in and we would have lost.
Yeah, and when we do our gambling recommendations, I'm just trying to do something the smart way. And, you can sit here and play around with these parlays, try to get the touchdown thing. And we should have done something like that. Is today like National Receivers Day or anything? We need to start Googling what the day is before we start this. I feel like every day is some kind of day. But anyway, tight end rankings. Obviously, Brock Bowers, great season towards the top. Kyle Pitts finally having a resurgence.
And
towards
Njoku
the top.
is really coming back off that injury too. He has been really solid.
And with that Cleveland offense being actually productive, that's a great selection. So if you got some of these top 8, 9, 10 guys, you're good to go in tight end. But obviously, this is a thin position.
Yeah.
A lot of people's week, especially in a redraft league, this is a thin position.
Yeah, I mean, Andrews he's had some solid weeks the last few weeks, but he's still got that likely handcuff. And obviously with the trades, Deontay Johnson's going to take targets away from him. You got Zay Flowers over there. you don't know if they're just gonna run the ball the whole game either.
Yeah. So I was out on him before, but if I'm thin at this position, I'm back in. I've been
could have
wrong.
been on waivers too at the midseason,
Right.
so you could have stashed him, and he's doing pretty well.
So
last
he's
2 weeks.
getting still targets the last 5 or 4 weeks there.
Not a lot of targets, but these tight ends don't seem to get many, but they make the most out of them. See, 2 weeks ago, 4 targets, 2 of them were for touchdowns.
Right,
so
but I'm not scared of him anymore.
No.
So
still weary, but you'd start him if you had
yeah,
to.
maybe if there's better options. But speaking of better options, like I said, if you're in this 10 to 15 range, TJ Hawkinson, worth a flyer, coming back from injury. Decent week last week, got his feet wet. We need to go on ahead and get production out of him this week. Also, Cole Kmet, like we talked about, Caleb Williams, the offense moves. Not a lot of targets last week. But like I said,
Hey, back on Hawkinson, I don't think he produced a stat last week.
yeah,
so
I'm pretty sure he was in, but
he's in, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
So.
and then another guy I wanted to highlight at number 19, Mike Gesicki. Early in the season, he was getting used fairly good amount of targets. That was with the T. Higgins injury, so he was more of a red zone guy. And then T. Higgins came back, and it was like Gesicki disappeared. So what's happening? But Higgins missed last week, and
was a
he's
hot
going to
waiver
miss
target,
this
too.
week too. But look at the targets last week. 8 targets, got 7 catches for 73 yards. Didn't find the end zone. In a PPR league, that's
Talk
feasible.
about a roller coaster here, though. You have some negative weeks, goose eggs,
Right. So
split points. Oh man.
and if Higgins is in the game, I'm not starting this guy. But if you're thin at tight end this week, T. Higgins is not playing. I look for Gesicki to possibly find the end zone. At least get 4 or 5 catches. I'm not scared to start him. If you got to start somebody outside of the top 20 at tight end, oh Lord, it's thin. And what have you been doing all year? But maybe I take a flyer on Jatavion Sanders down at number 29.
Can't
to-
even count on Taysom Hill as a gamble this year. This guy hasn't really done much at all.
And
So,
he's projected a lot this week, Taysom
Yeah.
Hill. He's available in 2 leagues wherein he's projected over 10 points. But
I'm not doing it unless everyone else is dead on my roster.
yeah, I'm not
so.
starting him ever. Great player, love the guy. It's always fun seeing a Taysom Hill highlight.
Hey,
But
Eric Hall, Michigan man down here, he's been a handcuff.
and he's somebody I like in the future.
Yeah.
Definitely Cincinnati for the next 2-3 years at the tight end position. I feel like they're going to be set with this guy.
Generally, the tight ends take a few years to develop. It's been an anomaly the last couple years. This
Right.
year with Bowers, last year with Laporta. That's like historic stuff, so don't count on that.
Right, yeah.
going forward.
Typically, we're about halfway point of the NFL season right now. So this is where a lot of the rookies, if they haven't performed yet, they're going to start developing a little better. This is where you start taking off. But yeah, outside of that, if you're thin at the tight end position like that, man, whew, I
Alright,
don't
well,
understand.
Let's cut off of the rankings here and jump into the chat questions. We got a couple more questions.
Chat, what's good?
Matt Styla,
Matt.
manager in our dynasty league, looks like he's got a question here. Maybe in another league, Olave or Devontae Smith, half point PPR. Who do you like?
I like Devontae Smith. First thought. What about you?
I'm partial to Olave.
He's-
I
yeah.
roster him in a league.
We each own him. So let's make
Yeah.
our case and let's see what Matt does. Go ahead, make your case for Olave.
I mean, he had the concussion, came back, and he had a really good week last week. So off of that, I feel good for this week.
And with Derek Carr
And
coming
Carr's
back.
So
yeah.
I mean, there's two,
This is a tough one. He's in for one. Matt, hold on one second. Let me pull up Devontae Smith's game log real quick here. I just want to, because I own Devontae Smith in both of my leagues. Last week he found the end zone and he did get targets 7 times, got 6 catches. This is a tough one if you have to ask me. I'd probably start Smith the home game, Jacksonville. That's a game where we talked about there could be a lot of points there. I could easily see that being 45, 50 point game or more. And the Olave game, they're on the road, but it's just Carolina. Man, this is a tough one for Matt.
I think Smith has a higher ceiling, but Olave is a safer play.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
So Matt, take that, and maybe the chat. Chat, you could jump in. We got a lot of smart people in our chats. Hopefully,
I guess Jim from Red Robin saying Olave, or I don't know, Jimbo.
okay, go Pittsburgh.
Go Pittsburgh.
Okay, Jim. Jim's saying Olave. Yeah, Olave, especially on a deep threat, but then again, Devontae Smith on a deep threat too. So
I guess it's what is your position in the league, and what are you looking for? Do you need a home run guy, or do you need just someone to get you points. So
Yeah.
that's really what's gonna make the decision for you.
Yeah. And on our rankings, where are these guys at on our rankings?
So on Fantasy
Smith
Pros,
is 16.
half PPR.
Olave is 11. Oh, you're
Maybe,
going.
so I switched to half to
Okay.
match up to Matt's needs. You got Olave up at 10, Smith down at 14. So that's on the expert consensus rankings out of Fantasy
So in
Pros.
this scenario, first off, I think you're blessed to have both of these guys on your team. If you're debating to start one of
and
these
who's
two
starting
guys,
ahead of them too? You got another.
yeah,
top
you
10
got
guy.
someone ahead of them. So
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
round of applause for that. This is a tough one. So if you're in that scenario, I know we probably haven't been the most help, but like what he said, higher ceiling, safer floor, and if it comes down to it, coin flip. But
Yeah.
but we each stand on one side. I like Devontae Smith, but again, Olave, a Buckeye. I'm never gonna hate on a Buckeye. But that's a tough one. I really appreciate the question too, because it makes me feel like, we're doing something
yeah,
here.
it's more dynamic for the show. Helps with the content. It's more
Yeah.
natural.
And I wanted to lay out something too when we got to our fantasy league. Maybe the chat can help me with someone that I would like to start. I'll just pose that question now before we visit our leagues. As we'll go into the Closing with Steve league first, because I like that league. I needed to know, because I have T. Higgins out in my league, and I was going to start either Jackson Smith and Jigba at home against the LA Rams, or Jordan Addison at home against the Indianapolis Colts. So maybe, chat, you can help me out. My first thought is Jackson Smith and Jigba, but maybe there's some smart people in here to talk me out of it. So,
So sounds like Matt has Drake London in his other spot.
love Drake London. I'm not starting him.
3 and 5, shooting for the upside. Yeah, he's got Smith in the lineup. Just run with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's jump into our dynasty league here.
So as we go over to our Closing with Steve league, that's what got this show started. To all of the new viewers or anybody that will watch this soon, we kicked off this show by just doing a fantasy draft for our dynasty league for the rookies, which is only 2 rounds, and we made shorts just so it was easier for people's phone. The shorts started doing well.
Yeah, you can find those on the YouTube channel if you want to go back and catch up.
Please go back. Those are hilarious. But then we wanted to do a show where we talk about everybody's got a fantasy show or some kind of show or podcast. This is ours, and this is our best attempt at it. So,
Hey, we're having fun. That's all that matters, right?
and we pay homage to the league that started it all, the Closing with Steve Dynasty League. We are on year 2. The standings are on the screen. Leading both divisions are yours truly and his truly. That bodes well for this. This is a more expertish league we've
I
been
think the
calling
team's
it.
out to get me now. I got a target on my head.
You definitely have a target on your back. People don't want you to win back-to-back as you are defending champion, but that's okay. You always want to have that. It's better to be that than to be towards the bottom. This league's still wide open outside of one team there. I mean, he's got an outside shot. He'd probably have to win out, but other than that, the league's pretty much still wide open.
Yeah, we're getting into the thick of it too. We're having some roster issues. I think I had to start Tillman off of the waivers. I put a big amount of my free agent budget on there just because all my receivers are hurt. I got DK Metcalf's out. That's killing me.
Yeah. So, again, sorry about that, but
Don't want
yeah,
to start Johnson after being just traded too. So
problems from the throne,
Yeah.
huh?
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
jump on your team though. We'll get
So-
you some advice.
So I squeaked out a win last week. Honestly expected to lose going into the Monday night game. My opponent had George Pickens, and I just expected him to find the end zone and go off. He had 2 touchdowns called back. If either of those counted or stood, whatever it was, I lose. So that definitely changes
You
the
had a
season.
pit in
So
your stomach for that game. That's for
So
sure.
I'm lucky. I don't want to sit up here and act like
No,
I'm
that-
some.
I'm not. I'm very humble.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot of luck. There's
Yeah.
a lot of luck involved in fantasy.
So
The
I just
matchup-
want to make sure I project that to anyone listening. A lot of this is luck, but a lot of it is skill, especially in a dynasty league. You do have to put in some work. We're in year 2. So I feel like I'm decently set up. Got another tough matchup this week going against the Las Vegas team, who's second in the point standing. I like my team. I'm fairly confident. Dealing with injuries. I've had McCaffrey out all year. Nico Collins has missed the last couple weeks. So I get those guys back next week. I'm hoping to have what my team actually looks like and then solid bench players to fill in, and then I have rookies for the future. I'm set up
You
for a
picked up
couple years.
McCaffrey on a trade that was questioned by the entire league, and then I don't know, it's looking good for Jake.
Yep. So yeah, I was weary too, even about making the trade for McCaffrey, because I'm like, oh, this guy gets hurt. He's due to get hurt. He got hurt, but it is what it is. Roll with the punches. However, if he comes back and does anything for me, then
You have a resurgence, and
Yes.
you're already sitting in a good spot.
yes.
So.
And I'm not going to drop his backup just in case he comes back and there's still an issue. I'm going to keep Mr. Jordan Mason, who's filled in just fine. But again, like I said, if you went back to the standings, the league's still pretty wide open, especially even with our points thing. This league does a prize for total points as well. The total points leader is obviously Brian over here, but
Yeah, that's one thing I've been keeping an eye on, because I was hovering around the total points in the first few weeks, and then I've kind of built a healthy cushion.
You've
almost
got a
200
strong-
point lead on that.
got a strong lead right now. So it looks like you're definitely going to finish in the money there. But as far as for the second place points total, it's wide
Anything could
open.
happen still. I mean, my team could just take a dump. You
Well-
never know.
Even Team 9 is still available for the points total right there. So
Or second place points, right? Do we have a second place prize?
we
this
do have
year?
a second
Yeah, we
place
had it.
prize, and that's another $100 right there. So there's no shame in that. You'll get your buy-in back. And then if you look at the standings with the records, it's just separated by 2 games outside of Brian in last place. So wide open. 6 weeks left. So what you gonna do?
Yeah, it's crunch time.
5 weeks left, actually. Ooh, excuse me. So
What was your roster question? Who do you need help with?
So in this league, I'm set. My roster question
Okay.
was just for the family league.
The family league.
And like I
Let's
said, it
jump
was
into the family league. We're gonna humble ourselves real quick.
so as we were at the top of that league, we are at the bottom of our family league.
yeah, I'm here. Gridiron Cannibals in 5th place in the Blood division, and then same
Oh,
division.
I'm right
you're
behind you.
behind, yeah, Crystal Lake Lifeguards. So 2-6 records. It's looking bleak for us. We got to win out to have any shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, but right above us, our wives are there, and there may be some influences there.
Yeah, we got the Tortured Coaches Department and Zombabes. That's Allie and Jamie, respectively.
Yeah, so
But,
they're looking good, and
They're doing all right.
we may or may not.
May or may not have some influence
Yes.
on that.
But besides that, so a redraft league, this is why people like these, because it's more novice, more open for everybody.
Less on the table, right? The stakes are lower. You get more
Yeah.
fun. You can have a terrible, season and not be too mad about it.
Right. So in these type of leagues, you just want to have fun. It's a game. We're trying to have fun.
Yeah, low
you want
buy-in.
more people involved. So we have some newer people in the league.
Yeah, we got some fresh first timers. My dad in there with Devil's Den. Emily Swift Slashers. I think it's John's first league, Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, so-
Obviously Jamie's too.
So we're growing the game. Like
Yeah.
smallly, but we're growing the game. Brick by brick. So to the new people in this league, I hope they, feel the excitement and want to continue doing this, because it's a yearly thing, and each year it gets
we want
bigger.
you all back next year, and hopefully we make this a good new tradition. So.
But in a redraft league, it's up and down, and I did not draft my typical strategy. I was at work during this draft, and I was still paying full attention. However, I didn't draft my typical style. I drafted a running back first because I couldn't believe he fell for me. That's not my style. Then a couple of the receivers I picked, it just didn't pan out. 2 injuries I had to deal with. These are typical things fantasy
Yeah.
owners have to deal with.
I'm looking at the points against category. This is always interesting to see where points against fall in the standings, and it's almost straight correlation to the top versus last. Whoever has the least points is in first, and whoever has the most is in the bottom. So that's hard to overcome. I mean, I have no excuse. I have the least amount of points for 4, second least. I mean, so it's like we all have the least amount for and the most against. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Can't really overcome that.
And one other thing I wanted to talk about, people that are towards the bottom of the league, I hope they don't get discouraged, because I've been in leagues before where, people give up the last couple weeks,
Quit
and then
setting
they're
the lineup.
they're not setting their lineup. This isn't fair. So you want games to be fun, but you also want them to be fair. You want everyone to have
Yeah.
the same chance. So even if I'm 1-7, I'm setting my best lineup. I'm picking. I don't care. I'm getting my best
I'll
effort
keep
every
you out
week.
of the playoffs too if I
Yeah,
can.
so I don't care if I'm 0 whatever. You are about to get my best, and
Yeah, and I think everyone's been a good sport about it. They're all actively managing their lineups, making waiver
Yeah.
moves, trade proposals. So
We need that.
The effort's still there.
You need that. You want full participation in all of this.
Let's check your lineup, see what's going on here.
So this is where I wanted
Smith
help
and
with the
Jigba.
chat. I was torn between Jackson Smith and Jigba at home against the Rams and Jordan Addison at home against the Colts. So this is tough for me because one plays earlier than the other.
Oh, yeah.
So my first thought is obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm a Buckeye. I want to stick with Buckeyes, and DK Metcalf's not playing. So this is where my heart is at right now. However,
Let's
I
check
like
out the
Minnesota's
stats here.
matchup today. But yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's, like I said, he's kind of touchdown dependent, but I feel like he's going to get a lot of targets today, and I feel like he could actually find the end zone today. So
So you got some, single digit fantasy point outings. You got consistent in the mid.
yeah, but
mid-teens.
he's definitely shown some flashes in his year and a half here of work, and
Let's check out Addison. Addison had a good rookie season last year. Coming in sophomore season.
And I was really high on him coming into this year,
In and
but
out of the lineup, but
it's not really getting targeted a lot.
That's tough. You don't have a big body of work here. It's only 5 games, but one of them he put up over 20 points. Yeah, he had more single-digit games than in Jigba, and then you already noted Metcalf is out, so that just raises the Jigba stock. So
yeah, so you're pretty much on in Jigba too, then.
yeah. I think this is more of a gamble to go with Addison.
And then neither of these would be a question if T. Higgins was healthy, because I'd be starting T. Higgins. And then I'm also starting Harrison Jr. and Devonta Smith there. So those are guys typically more towards the top of rankings. So again, this is a decent looking team. If you show me this team and then you tell me they're 2-6, I'd be like, how? But yeah, I took Bijan Robinson first, and that lessened my receivers. I should have had someone a little better there for the first pick. Because like I said, I don't really care about the running backs. I could have picked someone else that would have got same amount of points.
Yeah, so I mean, John, Matt, if you're still out there, what do you guys think?
Yeah, those guys, I like their opinions. Well, most of the Closing with Steve League, those guys are
Or
feel like
anybody,
experts.
yeah. Anyone watching, what do you think? And Smith and Jigba or Addison? Who do you take?
But
On a
outside of those
PPR league.
rankings, as we start getting ready, maybe the wives can send Miss Ella down for Ella's pick 6. But
Yeah.
the rankings are pretty thin. And then in the redraft league, it's more just for fun. It's exciting to see the dads in there,
Yeah.
Uncle Kurt in there, the wives in there.
Yeah, so you have a broad range of skills in the league.
Yeah.
Very unique takes on how to approach things, and it's been pretty cool to watch.
And it gives something extra to talk about.
Yeah.
Now we're all together. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. So that's pretty cool. As Miss Ella's making her way down here, we're gonna start getting ready for Ella's pick 6. How about Ella? We're on week 9. She's done 8. Well, she's done 7 weeks of picks because we had a bye week. But 21 wins, 21 losses. A 6-year-old girl who does not watch football outside of maybe sitting with her daddy on the couch here and there. But she doesn't know what's going on.
She's matching the odds of a coin. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Coin flip.
50-50 for a 6-year-old, and I like that she takes interest in this. She's starting to recognize teams that she's picked before. She may have some favorites.
Yeah, we got some up and coming fantasy players. That's for sure.
Yeah, so definitely exciting for her. Let's see if I can get her. Yeah, that's her special little microphone there. She wanted to bring that, and it was kind of disappointing that it doesn't hook into our soundboard here, because if it did, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
But yeah, she knows her stuff, and it's exciting to get these kids involved into some sports stuff. I know sports are boring for a kid to sit down and watch, as you may be starting to find out. Archer's getting a little bit older, but
I mean, even as a kid, I wasn't into it. It
Yeah.
took me a while. I wasn't really watching football until middle school,
Yeah.
high school. Really is when I really started. But before that, elementary school, I could care less.
yeah,
it
it takes a
wasn't
while.
it for me.
There's times where sports guys, I know something just clicks, but certain things you may see and enjoy here a little bit ahead of time. I hope she sees some of these things now, and it just builds something to where by the time she's a teenager, she at least
Yeah, it's good to
Can pick out
expose
a
them to
logo,
it, and they can,
maybe
get
she'll
them familiar with what's going on, kind of figure out how the game works.
yeah, little girl bonding with her dad.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And then my oldest too, they're hilarious with this stuff, and they know what's going on, but they know just the amount that they want to know about the stuff. Nathan's getting big into this now.
Well,
being
he's
a
a football
teenager.
player himself, right?
Yeah,
It's
just
kinda hard
finished
to
his
ignore it.
freshman season of
Yeah.
football. And, now when you play football and then you're in high school now and you're talking sports with the boys, he's paying attention a little more. And then, Belle, she knows her people that she likes, and it is what it is. But Ella, if anyone is listening, can we send Ella down? Miss Ella, hello, check 1 2 testing.
Ella.
Yeah, so I text and we said this. She's not coming. I don't know what these ladies are doing.
Well, let's just do your bets first.
Let's go to the gambling then. Boom, 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 boom. I love this part. I
Da-da-da.
don't have a money thing. I don't want to press too many of these.
Got her on the screen here. Let me get the other screen going so you can see what's happening. All right, week 9 bets.
So week 9 bets, and we will get to my record at the end of this, but we can jump right into our first pick here for week 9. Ooh, the Dolphins plus 5.5 on the road at the Buffalo Bills. I love this one.
It's a pretty nice
And-
graphic too.
Thank you. I was putting this together last night. I did my thing. Did I have a 1B too? I think I had, this is 1A and there's a 1B. If we
There
could
is a
touch on
1B.
1B for a second here, why I got to this decision. So on the money line for this game, 93% of the bets and 85% of the total money are on the Buffalo Bills. In those scenarios, I think the opposite, given our Vegas conspiracies we brought
Yeah.
up a little bit last week. So this is a game where I think Miami could possibly win based off of that logic, not based off of a stat logic or anything, just based off of something like that. But I felt a little safer taking the spread, which it was 6.5 on this site when I was looking at things, but it's 5.5 on FanDuel this morning. I feel confident in this. I like Tua being back. I like that offense being, more performing than we've seen in the weeks without Tua.
Yeah, that money line, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Those odds are really good for if you're betting on Miami. And, they got a lot coming back for them.
And
so.
they typically don't do well in Buffalo, but it's just the beginning of November, so it's not like a December cold snow game. I like Miami plus 5.5 here on my bets. I'll put my name on that. If you
Okay.
wanted to move over to our next pick, 2A, I believe I've labeled it for our
I got
purposes
it up
back
on the
here.
stream,
On the
Washington
screen.
and Giants.
I like the New York Giants plus 3.5 today. I just think this game is going to have a lot of points. It could go either way. So in that scenario,
Yeah.
the Giants are at home,
I mean, that's a pretty tight spread, so
and the receivers perform well there. Like I said, I don't expect a ton. This is a game too. If we went to 2B on our slides here to pull up just what the betting money is, the public betting has over 90% of the money on the money line for the Washington
yeah, so
Commanders.
another
And
one.
they very likely will win. But in scenarios where there's 90% of the money or more on something, I start to think that the Vegas angle plays into this.
Yeah.
They're not just giving away freebies every week. This is a game where it's alarming to me. 97% of the total money is on the Washington money line, but the money line odds is only plus 175 for the Giants. This is a scenario I presented, if you call it last week, with the Ravens and the Browns. The numbers just didn't match up, and then the Browns went ahead and won. So I didn't want to brag too much about that
there's
this
some,
week.
There's some higher forces going on. I'm going to get my foil cap up. for this
But,
segment.
just in certain scenarios, these things are alarming. There was a full list of games this week, but when I saw that was something was like, okay. So as far as for my money, if you went back to 2A there, it was just going to be the New York Giants plus 5.5. Was it plus 5.5, 3.5? I think it was plus 3.5.
Back.
So 3.5 on FanDuel. I'm taking that all day. I just expect that game to be over 45 points. Lots of points. I'll take the Giants. I'll put my name on that. Okay, this is the one. It's not going to be the most popular in a lot of the circles that are around here. The Detroit Lions are on the road at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers money line is plus 116. I'm taking the Packers. And here's why. Again.
Smacking you with the lion's tail.
So, not stats related. I 100% think the Detroit Lions are the better team. I 100% think the Detroit Lions are on their way to a Super Bowl run, at least the NFC Championship. But they're not going to go 16-1.
What's your parlay here? You got $10 wager.
Oh, that was just the pre-setup
I know.
parlay there, but
Yeah,
that
okay.
looks pretty good. But I don't think the Lions are going to go 16-1. So in that scenario, if you look at the rest of their schedule,
Yeah, the division's generally been hard. They kind of drop one of those games every year when they think they're going to win.
Absolutely.
So,
tough division. You just nailed that point. So you when you look at the schedule, obviously you think they're going to win the matchup against them. But every year in the NFL, you lose a couple games that you weren't supposed to lose. It's how you get better. You actually want that. And then I'll take this one step further because, like I said, I don't think they're going 16-1. They're going to have to take a loss somewhere. Again, here's where all the money's at. Most of the money's on the Lions to win, but then the Green Bay odds is still, pretty low given that money thing.
yeah, it doesn't match up very well.
So some people are just betting lunch money, but some people, this is a big investment. And if you do a big investment, you want to do a lot of research. And I did some research in this one. One of the things you want to research is it's outdoors and the weather. And the weather today in this game, it's going to be pouring rain and the winds are going to be in the high teens.
What's the temperature, do you know?
So the temperature's still going to be around the 50s. So it's not going to be
A little nippy up
cold,
there in Green
but
Bay.
just a rain game. The Lions are used to playing inside. What is it? I think 13 of their games this year were indoors. This is going to be an outdoor
It's
game.
nice to have a dome at home.
So if I look at their schedule, where are 2 or 3 losses coming from? Because they're going to have 2 or 3 losses. This is where
Yeah,
I think one of them's coming
it's
from.
a risky game. I mean, it's not a trap game by any means because Green Bay is a formidable opponent.
Absolutely.
But I mean, yeah, this could be one you slip up on. I mean, the running game's still good enough that I think, the weather's crappy.
Yeah.
They could still do all right.
And like I said, they're the better team.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
They can ground and pound you.
I
They're
like the points you made.
They're the
They're
tougher
very,
team, but I wanted to
well
make
thought
sure
out.
I hammered home them points. So here's where my bets are, and you can check this out on FanDuel. That's where I like to use my odds and place my bets. Last week I went 2-1 with our bets, and I called a plus 325. If we move on from here to the very last slide, it's our season record. We are 15-9. That's 62.5%, 63% if you round up. I didn't want to round up at the risk of being cocky, but
Freaking Browns, dude.
I picked a 325. So most of the bets I'm picking, I'm not picking the obvious things. I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell you a minus 170. That's not really getting up here and putting any skill or effort behind this. Even with what I've picked today, it's 3 underdogs. One of them to win outright. That's where I go. Fantasy show bets. Follow along. Hopefully you make a little lunch money like I did last week with that Browns money line last week. I fed a family of 5 Subway and Chipotle. So, yeah, it was great.
I'll take that.
Chipotle, that smoked brisket burrito. If you haven't heard that, I've seen that commercial all week. That thing is delicious.
I haven't tried that out.
Loved it.
Back to our regularly scheduled program. We got Ella here standing on deck. Give a round of applause for Ella.
Come on, Ella. Let's bring Ella out
Come
for
on down.
a lot of people's favorite segment. Ella's Pick 6, and Archie, I think, is going to join
Yeah, we got a straggler coming.
for this segment as we welcome the kids. Hey, Ella, let me share this microphone with you. You can share this too. Say
Archer
hi to
said
the
the
people.
Packers aren't winning.
Yes. Again, not the most popular pick. I hope my nephew doesn't hate me for that.
No.
But anyway, as we move on to Ella's Pick 6 for this week, Ella, say hi to your people.
Hi, people.
So I told the people this year, Ella, you have won 21 games and lost 21 games. That is a perfect 50%, and there's no problem with that. 6-year-old girl, it could be worse.
Yeah, don't know anything that's going on and still picking pretty good. So that's all right.
So as we jump into week 9, we will go over Ella's Pick 6. Ella, this is your first choice here. Ooh, I almost said San Diego.
Hey, that's easy to mix
The
up,
Los Angeles Chargers are at the Cleveland Browns. When you see this, Ella, what do you think?
I literally love both. I swear, but I love the Bengals.
Well, we love the Bengals, but we're going to pick out of this one. Who do you like for the Chargers or the Browns?
The Browns.
So, you love the Browns? Is that why you want to pick them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to lock in the Browns for Ella's first pick. What do you think, Arch? That's good? Okay, he
Yeah,
said
good.
yes. Arch likes that.
Round of
if
applause
we
from
move
Arch.
along, as we do applause for Arch, Ella, in your second game here, we are going to pick between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals. That's our
You
Bengals.
don't want to say Oakland Raiders?
I almost wanted to say Oakland Raiders.
I see a theme coming in these games.
Yeah. So when you see this, what do you think?
Bengals.
Bengals, and I don't even think we need to question that because that's our squad, huh?
Who dey?
Who day?
Who they think gonna beat them Bengals?
Hey, maybe Bowers will get a touchdown.
Buddy, I do like Bowers to score today.
Yeah.
Our defense is not good. Okay, if we
moving
move on to the third game, this is the Denver Broncos, one of your favorite teams, and they're going against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. When you see this, what do you think? Tough one, huh?
I swear I can't pick one.
Archie's frustrated too.
Help her out, Arch. What will Ella decide? That's the Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos.
You want to roll with them?
Yeah.
Ella's picked the Broncos a few times this year, and it's been very lucky for her. Why hop off of that train? We're going to roll with the Denver Broncos and keep it moving onto your fourth pick. So far, we have the Browns, the Bengals, and the Broncos. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica,
Ooh.
if you follow The Office.
What's that one?
This
Sure,
is
there's some fans out there.
this is the Dallas Cowboys, and they are at the Atlanta Falcons. And you haven't seen the Falcons this year for your picks, but you've picked from the Cowboys before. So when you see this, Ella, what do you think?
Well, I have another cousin, Ann Aubrey. She is on the Falcons team, so Falcons.
Let's go with the Falcons and support Bree Bree.
Yeah.
Okay, Bree Bree, we're picking the Divine Child Falcons here. So she has the Browns, the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Falcons. Tell them, Arch. Let the
Yeah.
people know. Okay, and if we move along to Ella's fifth pick, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I hardly know what to say.
What are you going to say?
The Jaguars.
Jaguars, and we're going to roll with that. So now, if we go to the last selection in Ella's pick 6 for week 9 in the NFL, this is the Detroit Lions
Don't even
at
tell
the
me it.
Green Bay Packers.
Don't even tell me it, because you know I'm going to pick the Lions.
Go Lions.
Forward down the field.
What you think, Arch? That's a good pick?
You want to shake the Lions there, Art?
Go ahead, say it into the microphone. That was cute as hell.
You say go Lions, Art? Thank you, Arch.
That's what I'm talking about. So if we move on to that last graphic there, and we will just pull up Ella's complete pick 6. She has the Browns, the Broncos, the Jaguars, the Bengals, the Falcons, the Lions. Book it. As I said, she is 18-18 up until last week. She went 3-3 last week. That brought her to 21-21 on the season. And we will see how this goes going forward. But she's doing pretty well for a 6-year-old girl. Ella, thank you.
Thanks, Ella. Thanks, Archie.
Arch, thanks. You did a great job, too. It's nice when he's down here for that, too. We're inspiring a future generation here. And that's one thing that, too, I mean, we like doing this show for our own personal reasons, but I know for a fact that we have little people that are watching us put forth this effort and make this attempt, and it's resonating with them. And they're going to make their own attempts at this or other
Yeah.
things in the future.
You know, if you got something you want to do, why not try it?
You know, chase your dreams. I'm in my early 40s, and I could have easily just got on with my family life, laying on the couch every day. But no, I'm chasing a dream. This dream almost died, and no, I'm back. It's got steam,
Yeah.
and I got help.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how do you feel like we did this week?
That was pretty good. You know, we got the dual stream service going. You know, if you want to catch us on Twitch, we are live there as well. I think we only got one viewer there. That might be my phone, but
That's okay. We gotta grow. So we're moving along. I feel like audio issues last week that I didn't necessarily notice, but because we were caught up in our costumes and stuff.
oh yeah.
I feel like we had a great episode, but it was
yeah, if you didn't
ruined
catch
by...
the Halloween episode, you know, go back and take a look.
That was great. Your costume was hilarious. A lot of comments about your costume. Well done there.
Thank you.
But as Brian said, We're on Twitch now, and you can spread the word there. We've made social media pages. Ourselves, we're not the most active on our own personal social media pages.
Absolutely not.
So we're trying to learn how to go complete 180 and be active on our pages. But you can find That Fantasy Show on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. The TikTok's famous with the kids. I still got to get a crash course in how to use
you
that.
can light fire on TikTok. That's for sure.
All of these ways are ways where we can be more interactive too. We want to help people. So these are scenarios where people can reach us. We can be interactive, maybe help you, or maybe people can help us. And also, we obviously want to grow our brand. So we have goals for that, to try that. But in the meantime, our basis is we want to go over rankings, give our opinions on them.
Yeah, have a little fun with it.
We want to showcase leagues that we're in on both ends of the spectrum, expert-ish level and, a beginnerish level. You're going to encounter different levels of this throughout your whole day. Whether you're doing fantasy sports, you're going to talk to the guy who watches sports all week, and you're going to talk to people that don't even know what a football looks like.
No, you got the guy that's doing their first fantasy league, or the dude that's in like $1,000 league.
And, you don't want to put someone down that's a beginner. That can be a lot of the expert sports guys want to be, this guy doesn't even know this and that. No.
You got to stay humble and offer your advice, and get encouraging.
Yeah, you want to be inclusive. You want to bring more people in. So,
not just in fantasy, but in everyday life. Just
good point.
Be a good person.
Good point. That's a great point. And I think we can end on that note right there. Be a good person. Sheesh, man, this life is hard enough out here.
Yeah, it is.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to thank Brian for that. Be a good person. That was amazing. Good way to end that.
Yeah.
I feel like we did a good show this week.
Yeah, I think so.
We will get active during the week. That was kind of an off week for the midweek content. We're going to plan out some stuff to be a little more active. Catch us on our socials. If you don't follow us, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch. Look out for us.
Yep, drop a follow, leave a like.
We're trying.
Give us a view. It all helps.
We're putting in a good effort here.
All right.
We appreciate all the support. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you all. Signing off.